Mobile wagering platform. Bet any place, anytime with Capital OTB's mobile wagering platform and CapitalOTBBet.com, the premier wagering site in New York State.
Go.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Handicappers Report alongside Seth Merrow. I am Anthony Mormino on a very pleasant Thursday morning. Sunshine, moderate cloud cover. I think it'll be dry today. I don't know, but we are off the turf. And what I love is if the timestamps are right on Twitter, how does Mark Henning beat Naira by 10 minutes?
Well, that's always.
And Capital OTB has it, but we were off the turf. And I would say the late daily double, we might have a couple of King Kongs on the MTO. But the other races, I thought, once again, we have to guess who's going to scratch and who's going to stay in. And we go forward. We raise the curtain on the second half, and it's hard to imagine it won't go appreciably better than the first half.
Well, at least the last 5 days. I mean, it's just snake bit yesterday. I was telling you, I was over in the Shake Shack yesterday.
I text Seth like in the middle of the day in panic.
The girl at the counter says to the customer, just nonchalantly, the customer, we're cash only. And I didn't think anything of it. I had cash for my burger.
Which at the race, by the way, at the racetrack in today's society might be one of the few places that's not a huge thing. A lot of places it'd be like, what? But at the track, you need cash.
Yeah, and so I was waiting for my burger. I looked up behind the mutual area there, and the TVs were off, and I didn't really think anything of it. Then I got my burger and walked a little ways, and more TVs were off. And then I walked a little further, and all the lights were off. And I thought, man, you talk about snake bit. But subsequently, I ran into somebody who was on the phone with somebody outside the facility and the whole area around here. And I guess from what I understand, a tree fell down at Yaddo and knocked some wires down, so power was out for the whole area, and so it took a little while to get reset. But part of my walking out of Shake Shack was also, as I was walking out of Shake Shack and noticing all the power was out, I was also seeing the horses coming from the track. They were already on the track, and they were headed back to the paddock, and you knew at that point. And after a few minutes, that race was, understandably, you can't keep the horses going like that for a long time, and so that race was canceled, and then with a delay, the rest of the card went on. But again, it's just a crazy going back.
Do you recall the most famous power outage here?
Power outage here? No, I don't think so.
Opening day '89, about wrecked the. I mean, remember we had phones back in those days on the wall, but about the middle of the card in '89, it got wiped out, just canceled. Then they gave out buttons later that said, I survived opening day. And the next year on opening day, if you wore the button, you got in for free. But yeah, opening day, I think Golden Reef won the Schuylerville. And it's hard to find her price. Like how much you paid, because there was no power. I mean, it went on hours and hours and hours. And, it was a completely different era in 1989.
Well, you say there was phones at the track. There was no phones at the track. That was one of the crazy things.
No, they had to close them, but they were right on the right-hand side in the clubhouse next to the men's room, the whole bank of them. The guy came by just before the first post and locked them up.
Phones? I thought there was no phones allowed on the racetrack for a long time.
No, they could be there, but once racing started, they locked them up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're right there at the track. But yesterday, the interview with David O'Rourke, who did an okay job, I thought. There was two things that I thought anybody walks out thinking. One is, how surprised were you to learn that apparently they're not in charge of canceling? I was 100% surprised in refunding. And he didn't explain how it works. And I think that's important. He said, we're not in charge of refunding. He basically said, we wanted to refund, but couldn't.
He alluded to the stewards at one point, and then
who's in charge of refunding?
I was left thinking, was this the steward? And I went back and looked at the rules.
Ooh, good job.
I was talking with Dave Grenick, and he was pointing at some rules. So I will tout him as then giving me the impetus.
Thank you, David.
To go on to actually pull up the rules. And it seems like there is no capacity to refund in that situation, which I found strange and should be changed, obviously, because again, we're working with a game outdoors where a little bit of anything can happen, and it did. And subsequently you had a situation where they were left with bad options. I mean, I don't know whether any option would have made everybody happy, but certainly they didn't have the option they needed. And so I think that has to be looked at by, racing.
So how do they refund other bets?
I'm saying that in that particular
Right.
situation, in pick 5 situation, where you're taking races off the turf, you can. I will read you because it's in the program right here.
So this sounds like a pick 5 situation because they're able to refund other bets. So
when the condition of the turf course warrants a change of racing surface to a non-turf course in any of the pick 4, pick 5, pick 6 races, and such a change has not been known to the public before the close of wagering in any of those wagers, the changed legs will be deemed an all for wagering purposes. But there's no consideration of refund in there. And I pulled up the rules, had the long New York State, and I searched for refund. And there are situations where refunds can be, but not.
Well,
not
so what it tells you is
happened.
they wanted in the rules not to be allowed to refund such a huge bet because they know it's in there to refund other bets. They were like, well, we're going to refund it. No, we're not refunding $1 million.
I'm not sure I'm that cynical, but.
You didn't think anybody in the room went, are we going to refund this? We refund other bets. Here's another one that didn't come up at all. The money out of the pool. Didn't touch it with the 10-foot pole.
Yeah, but that was just, I mean.
Where did it go, and is it?
I don't think that's a conspiracy theory at all because they announced it with enough time for people. I mean, it was late, very late, but there was time enough for people to jump in and make the change. It was not much time, but that then explained that.
And it was a significant amount of money. It was not much time, and it was a significant amount of money. I'd like to see I'd like to have just the data. I mean, just the transparency of it, because if people don't know, the pick 5 pool shrunk by a considerable amount of money.
It was like $100,000.
Yeah, 100,000 here, 100,000 there. Well, next thing you know, old Jed's a millionaire. But
believe me, I'm not. It was not a good situation. And David O'Rourke addressed it. They're going to seed the in an attempt to give back to the horse players in some fashion. Seed the late pick 5 on Saturday with $100,000. And again, I think the race.
Does that money come from penny breakage? Not having penny. Where does that money come from? Like, how do you have 100,000 sitting around? Like.
Well, I mean, you have to have some kind of contingency in certain.
So they have it. So it'll be what, Saturday?
Saturday's late pick 5, but they have to. I think that the rules have to be looked at. Again, and you don't want no rule. You don't want the Wild West because then people complain, oh, they're just making it up as they go along. But I think it has to be codified that in some situations they have to be able to kind of pull the trigger and make.
I find it most interesting that NYRA does not have the autonomy to. It's their sandbox.
To admit that reading some of the things, the stewards had more pull than I realized as well. Yeah,
and only one of them is a NYRA steward, right? The state, a NYRA, and the Jockey Club, right? Right. So once again, it goes back to the old thing that I said years ago about the inquiries. Just make the conversations public.
No, I'm all for that.
I'm like. And then the other thing, like the timeline, like you figure the jockeys came off the turf race in the 4th race and said, we're not really for this. As I said yesterday, they didn't shout it out when they were on the backs of the horses. So you figure they had at least 20 or 25 minutes where the jockeys said, that's not safe. They came off the course for the 4th race and they said, that's not safe.
Supposedly the conversation didn't happen until the 5th race. I mean, the timeline to me is a little fuzzy too, but supposedly it didn't happen to the 5th race, but it's still. Once the conversation starts, then the request should be made to delay, because again, they didn't have the ability to delay. They didn't have the. They say they didn't have the ability to delay, which makes me think they waited until really that last minute to make that request. So it was it was
all right.
Not a good situation.
First half is in the books, and you know, I've said this many times before for public handicappers. Like my data is 46 for 199, and through the years, I think you see most public handicappers are about 33% in wins. So I'm way behind that because it would be about 67. But the context is added that, you know, it's 417.50, so we're ahead of the meet. Without the context of the ROI, you would rightly say 46 seems a little anemic out of 199 races, and you would be right until you add context to the conversation. And I figured it out at Del Mar. I need a $6.20 winner for the rest of the way. And I took a 10-to-1 shot for tonight, so I'm not going to play it. I'm not here to play it. You know, because it is a great goal of mine to get across the finish line. I mean, I've said this. I've never felt.
How do you only have 190 some though?
I've had, because I have a lot of races that, like I had a race yesterday. I had no selection because all my horses scratched out.
I had one yesterday too. That was bizarre. I had one yesterday. All 4 of my picks scratched out.
So I haven't.
But legitimately, there's.
Well, how many races have there been? I should only be about 4. I think I've had 4.
202 so far. That's
202. So I'm 3 behind. So 1 was yesterday. 1 was earlier in the meet. So it's 3 in total. I've had no selection for that. That might happen. I might have 1 or 2 today when the scratches all come out. We're not going to show the replay, but one thing I want to say to people that when Into Happiness won yesterday, go back and watch the replay of the 8th race and watch John Velasquez and watch Into Happiness. Horses rarely ever win that way. And what I mean by that, except for great horses that usually end up in the Hall of Fame, he put in almost a 5-furlong run wide on the track and beat me. But Seth, about an hour and a half later in the 10th race, when More Than a Feeling was doing optically almost the same exact thing, I said, my first reaction was I wasn't worried about John Velasquez and Into Happiness. That move never wins. But when I saw them win, and I saw More Than a Feeling putting in almost the same exact run, I'm like, this is home. The big point I'm trying to make is I don't think rallying on the outside yesterday was a bad thing, because they rallied on the outside in ways. Horses, we're talking New York Red Maiden special weight, and we're talking 3-year-old fillies entry level allowance. They did things. They put in a run almost 2 furlongs. They were in a drive on the far turn and got it done. And they were about the 4 or 5 path on the turn, or entering, I should say. I don't see that very often, and I made a big note of it with Into Happiness doing it. Because Seth, when I saw him putting her in the run, I'm like, well, that's not a competitor. That's way too early to put in a run. I got her beat, and she just kept coming and coming and coming. And then I was like, when More Than a Feeling, I was like, you know what? I am not worried about this run. So just take a look at race 8 and 10. I think the winners will look familiar, but what I'm saying is you don't very often see jockeys put their horses in a drive before the half-mile pole and win. You almost immediately discount them. Even if they're my horse, I'm like, well, I'm toast. I'm already in a drive. But I thought it was very interesting that 2 separate horses put in a race style that I very rarely see win. And boy, I tell you one thing, More Than a Feeling, the get-out race at almost 7 o'clock, I mean, he locked him up. He had won the race, and it was like comfortable, like won easily. But just take a look at that. You talk about race watching, and you might disagree, but it's hard. I think that's a tough subjective thing to disagree. You won't often see horses win that way. At least that is my opinion. So I felt very good at about 5 of 7 that I had the winner was going to put in a 4 furlong run wide and get the job done. And More Than a Feeling did it.
I think
easily.
Into Happiness is the one that it was right at the wire, right? Wasn't it? What was that? The bang bang? It was just
yes.
whatever.
I did not think going by Into Happiness won, but that's an excellent point, Seth. winning the photo or anything wouldn't have mattered to me from what I saw. I'm like, he shouldn't have been. She shouldn't have been even that close.
But I was bringing it up because it mattered to me because that's like the sixth time I've got caught on the wire at this meet, where I think 10 yards from the wire, I'm there, and then I watch live, and I still think I'm there. And then you pull up the replay, and it's happened to be like 6 times as me. And normally,
are you 0 for 6?
Well, yeah, I was about to say normally you think, it all evens out.
Well, you got the second half now,
and that's where I'm hoping.
You're due to be 6 for 6.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
So start firing, but just watch those horses, and also take that going forward and watch how many times, not just your horse. I mean, casual bettors, I always say, watch your own horse during the running of the live race. And I know most people. I heard you saying the other day, on either Loose on Leader Racing Across America, you watch fans throw out the programs and the racing forms. And I know we look at it from our jobs are looking at a different angle. And I know everybody disperses after the live race. I said, but watch the replays, come back to it in a couple minutes and watch the replay. And my rule of thumb usually for casual bettor is watch your horse, the live race on the replay, and watch the replays up here. Watch what the winner did. And just see if you start to see something like, find where the winner was and watch them from the gate home. But so we lift the curtain on the second half of our 40-day meet. We are off the turf today. It's Thursday, so that must be Steve Bick's play of the day.
When you think trucks, think DePaula. Then come join the family for value. Just visit, call, or click.
This week's Chevy Silverado is just $539 a month with 0 due at inception. Yes, 0 down.
So come join the family and think DePaula for all your automotive needs.
Hey everybody, Steve Bick with you. The DePaula play of the day. It's 6 minutes to post for the Wednesday play. Fancy Azteca taking a lot of money, 12-1 morning line, and is currently 5-1 with about 6 minutes to post. So not sure how the Wednesday play came off, but the Thursday play is the 9th race. It's a starter allowance going 1 mile and a 16th on the inner turf. It's a competitive group, and I'm going to go for a bit of a karma move. Deputy Connect is going to go from dirt to turf. This one for Brad Cox. You get Flavian Pratt. He's 6-1. He's a son of Connect. And what's interesting about the pedigree, Connect does okay on turf. The dam, Raven-esque, she wasn't much on turf. Her full sibling was excellent on turf. So there's some mixed messages about the turf aptitude. But what I like is that Flavian Pratt sticks, and you're going to have a horse that is going to be in the mix early. So Deputy Connect, 6-1, your DePaula play of the day. Thursday, we're on our way to Colonial Downs for Arlington Million weekend. We'll have the Sunday DePaula play for you in a couple of days. Good luck. See you then.
When you think trucks, think DePaula.
The all-new 2024 Chevy Trax is here. Bigger, roomier, seats 5, and lots of technology. And just $449 a month, 0 down.
So come join the family and think DePaula for all your automotive needs.
Sergeant is trying to wrap.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Kicking off the card. Remember, we are off the turf. We'll be staying at 5.5 furlongs. 2-year-old fillies, open company, maiden special weight.
This is one of those races where I pretty much kept them the same. I pulled the MTO down at the bottom of my mix. I had a 3, 4, 6, and 5. But put the 9 down at the bottom. If some of those scratch, I'll pull the MTO in. But I thought Bunchen, the Wesley Ward runner, they got obviously super ambitious. It's a Wesley Ward sprinter who ran well in the debut at Keeneland, and then they go over and they try the Queen Mary at Royal Ascot. Did not do anything that day, but had some trouble. But do know that debut at Keeneland, scheduled for the turf, moved to the main track and just missed there. I don't think this is going to be any obstacle then with the surface switch. Into Stars for Brad Cox by Into Mischief. If you watch enough, you know I love Into Mischief with first-time starters. There's a sibling called Mobile. Took 5 starts to win, but in those 5 starts, that win, couple seconds, couple thirds. So I thought there was a little early talent there. So into Stars in the mix, and then Honey Dijon in the third spot. Joe Sharp, offspring of Gervin. So there's a little bit of win early breeding there. Didn't show it in the debut, but I am not going to be shocked at all if we see some notable improvement in the second start. So for me, 3, 4, 6, and 5. And again, with scratches, I'll pull in the MTO Bobby Jean as well.
Intermission, 2 winners yesterday, including Tricky Temper, the first-time starter, who's, just and I think he watches from time to time, but Mark Henning trains into happiness. And I'd like to know what he thought at the 4.5 furlong pole if he had the winner. Because I wish I'd watched the race with him, actually. But the MTO is 10-1 on the morning line, a debut runner for Mark Henning. So, we'll see if they run or but I'm 6.53 and I'm happy here. Seth, I will say that I will tip my hand at when people ask, how do you come up with some of these dopey thoughts you have? This is the type of debut that I love, is you give me a little something, which was a half mile, and then I'm not yelling. I'm not a screamer. Even when it's good, it's like, run worse, run worse, run worse. And that's what Honey Dijon did, because I'm looking for better odds in the next time. And I was happy to get 4 furlongs in the debut race. That was opening day, second half of the first daily double. So I'm happy to take Honey Dijon. I hope I'll take 5-1 here for second Permed, blinkers on, third career start. This to me is the horse to beat, because I really think when you get to the third race, that's where I really feel as if the horse is going to begin giving you the stuff that it has. And this is a sharp barn. For third, Bunchen, who might have finished 22nd in England, but that wasn't last, because there's at least 26 runners in the field. But they come back to the United States. It's a gun runner. But I think the 6 and 5 are the two major players in here. I am 6.53 in the opener.
Race number 2 on Thursday afternoon. We're looking at state-bred maiden claimers. They will go 3/4 of a mile.
And I don't know if it's inflation or something, Seth, but it used to be 20 and 40 were the two levels for the state-bred maiden claimers, because I have had the thinking that there was a sharp difference in the New York bred program, the maiden claimers 20 and 40, and it was important for the connections to find the level that they should run. And as a public handicapper, knowing that it could be a steep jump going into the 40s. I am 316 here. It's now 30 is one of them. I think I've seen all 3 levels. I should look on my laptop, but 316 for me. Maybe this wasn't the spot to take a firster, but as I looked at this field and I looked at the horses that had run, it gets back to Seth. The buyer par isn't listed for this, but I was thinking in my head, like, I don't want to be 50 could win it. 50 maybe 48 with it. Right. I didn't want to. Yeah, I think 44 could win this race. I think Seth is right. 50 would be down the road. So I was thinking 40 for a firster, 44 isn't unimaginable. And Oscar Barrera III sends out this offspring of Honorable Dylan. Dylan Davis gets the mountain here. And I just was thinking, boy, I don't think the winning buyer number is out of the reach for the firster. For second, the other firster, Knocks cats off fence.
Knocks cat off the fence.
Knocks the cats off the fence for Robertino Diodoro. And for third, Strange Fruit, who is the veteran in the group, making the 7th career start. My thoughts are this is extremely wide open. I see you kind of went for the 2-1 morning line shot. You
allude. I didn't have a morning line. When I printed, but you alluded to exactly my thoughts. This is not a strong field, and this is the kind of race where I like the fresh face factor, so to speak. I went with the Robertino Diodoro runner by Taprit. A couple of the workouts are okay. Okay, they aren't spectacular, but they're okay. There's enough there to think.
If they're spectacular, they probably made in special weight.
Yeah, just what you were kind of, as I say, saying and alluding to. This horse doesn't have to be much, but there's enough there with the trainer and the workouts to think could be live in with this bunch. Second slot, we'll take a look at Finney's Harbor. Experience counts. The Mark Hennig trainee obviously draw a line through the last race. The 2 races before that was well beaten. But the career debut kind of stacks up with this bunch. So I'm going to look for this horse maybe take another little half a step down the claiming ladder, getting back to dirt. Maybe we can bounce back to what we saw in the debut. And if so, that horse could be a player. And then Strange Fruit, again, that race 2 back was clearly good enough in here. This race is kind of a puzzle. It's who's going to come out kind of feel their oats today. But as I say, this is the kind of race where I think you could take a shot with a fresh face. I'm 1-7, 6 and 4.
I'm looking to see the price points for New York brands elsewhere. On to the third. We're off the turf running the mile out of the chute. The capital B claimers in for 35,000. And just give me a second, because usually what I do is, okay, there are 2 3-year-olds in here making for the capital B.
And yeah, we are going the 1 mile here, the distance. I changed things up. Dirt to turf. So my dirt picks are 8, 13, 2, and 1. The 13 is the MTO in here. But I thought Amani's Eagle, with really far more dirt experience than turf experience, was going to wind up being the one to beat. Claim 2 back down at Churchill. Last time ran at Ellis against a little bit better. I think class-wise, the horse is going to stack up nicely. I don't think the surface switch is going to be an obstacle at all. So I think this horse is a real player. Then, obviously, the MTO. They get the surface they want off the claim for Rob Atris, but off the claim and a win. But that was at a 16 level, now bounces up to 35. The win, though, is also up here. So there are things to like, obviously, and one of the main things is they're the lone MTO, and it was switched to the main track. And then in the third spot, Born a Gambler. I had this horse on top on the turf. We'll see if Roddy Valenti stays in with this one, but on a little bit of a class drop for Mike Maker and Roddy. I think Born a Gambler could be a little bit of a player in here. And what I was looking at was, the recent workout down at Belmont. I thought said this horse might be interesting. You look at the other workouts. If they stay in, those workouts say this horse could possibly be a player in here regardless. So 8, 13, 2, and 1.
Boy, I was surprised looking at this that David Aragona made Rock the Weekend, the lone MTO, 6-1.
Well, I think that's a class move, though.
But
the horse has never really been at the debut was for a maiden 35.
This field on the dirt has even if they stay in, like Treasure King, to me, who looks to be a horse maybe stay in, has 7 synthetic tries, the offspring of Treasure Beach. I'm like, I would think he'd stay in, but he's going to be first-time dirt. Born a Gambler is an offspring of Overanalyze, has never been on the dirt, and I was thinking will stay in also. But we'll see. I wish Roddy or Mary had called me to let me know, but they didn't. The 7, Sapetro, I would think maybe we would stay in, try the mile. That's the first handicapping. My thought is Rock the Weekend is going to be going up against some horses, I think, that have little to no dirt form whatsoever. And once again, the par here is 83 on the old race. I think on this race, it might be 70.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, I think my 3 horses are going to scratch out. I'd like to see Born a Gambler stay. If Mike Maker is willing to take the chance, I'm staying with them. I'm going to bring in a horse, though, at a 4, Honor Leo Jean. To me, I hope Tim Ham stays in here. I would be intrigued to see if this runner, and I'm just going off the second career start, a mile 40 at Tampa. That, to me, puts this horse in the mix at a gigantic price. So intriguing, as always. Well, not always, because I think the late double, the MTOs are King Kong. But in this race, I think on the surface, Rock the Weekend looks like a small King Kong. What was that? Mighty Joe Young?
Mighty Joe Young.
Okay. Right. But I'll be intrigued to see which horses stay in. But the 4, to me, is a big player at a huge price.
I looked at the 4. I totally agree. If that one stays in and it is a price, take an extra look at Honor Leo G. Look at the workout over on the Oklahoma. That's a nice workout as well. So, and I would think, given that workout, they very well may stay in.
And I think, one time, like, if they run, I just like to ask them, like, did you get the race you wanted? etc. So, time for the Dark Horse
Play of the Day, brought to you by the Dark Horse Mercantile in downtown Saratoga. Again, always tout swinging by. They have racing memorabilia, apparel, and whatnot. Fun to browse. And then down the street.
We scratch out yesterday?
Yeah. Well, I was in the race, the whole race that canceled out.
Yeah,
that was frustrating. Impressions of Saratoga down the street, also worth a visit. Our Dark Horse Play of the Day today. Sixth race. Again, it's one of those restricted maidens races without the R on the conditions on the page. But I originally looked at the Pletcher horse, Conate. But Pletcher with 2-year-old dirt sprint first-time starters this season at Saratoga is a little slim. Dirt sprinting first-time starters over the last few years has put up okay numbers. So I originally had that one on top, but again, there wasn't quite enough there to pull me. And I Secret Lover I had down in the second, and then I thought, I'm going to flip these because at 20-1, I don't want to kick myself if a Kozan firster gets it done. Antonio Sano has 2 in here. His other one is a shorter price, the 2, Ladam Bro. So this becomes the longer half of the uncoupled entry. Kozan, last year, 52 first-time starters, 10 wins, 9 seconds, 2/3. Very good numbers this year so far. 34 first-time starters, 5 wins, 6 seconds, 3/3. Very good numbers. There are a couple of full siblings, one called Wildwood Bye. 4th, then 2nd, then 1st, then 3rd, then 1st. Overall, 7 exacta finishes and 10 starts. Another sibling called Witch Hunter. Not a win early type, but throughout the career, 15 exactas and 26 starts. I thought there was some nice win on the bottom side, some win early on the top side. Brings this one up after having worked down at Gulfstream. I'm not thrilled with the horse, but at 20-1, there's enough there to think I'm going to take a little pop in here with a horse that I think could fire early because of that breeding. So for me, in the 6th race, it's the Dark Horse Play of the Day. Horse number 7, Secret Lover.
I like where your head's at. Now, I took the other one, the very short price one, but I like where you took the 20-1 shot on that. We like that very much. Take a quick break. When we come back, the middle pick 4.
It only takes one upset to make history, and now you can be part of Saratoga's long tradition at the Dark Horse Mercantile. The Dark Horse Mercantile offers a carefully curated selection of clothing, gifts, and home decor, from one-of-a-kind vintage racing memorabilia to select brands like Barber and Under Armour, as well as exclusive Dark Horse branded merchandise. So celebrate the Dark Horse in all of us at the Dark Horse Mercantile, downtown Saratoga, where the smart bet is always the Dark Horse.
For more than 4 generations, Bruce Cerrone and his family have continued the 101-year tradition of delighting their local following and faithful summer crowd with the finest authentic Italian recipes. Classic Italian dishes made with the freshest ingredients, served in a home-like setting. Some things have changed in the last 101 years, but not Pinnell's commitment to the finest in Italian cuisine. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, just minutes from the track.
Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now. Welcome back to the Handicappers Report, live from Saratoga. Oh, I didn't read the promos coming up over the next couple of days, so I will do that now. I will mention once again, low rollers.
Got to get your head on straight for the show bet at the end of the week. You got to get deeper.
Low rollers today had Ray and Jay on last week, and their appearance has bumped up, so that means bigger prize pools. They said they had a nice little.
Other than Shake Shack, it's the best thing of the track.
Yeah,
for the customers.
Happy that it's kind of, as I say, made the prize pool bigger. So don't forget low rollers. Today, I met Donnie Nelson, who kind of oversees things too, and he said they had some new people both Thursday and Sunday signing up, so that was good to hear. And again, if you do like the contest, we have the tourney bets every weekend at Capital OTB. So keep that in mind as well. You're playing against just a pool of other OTB customers in New York State. So it gives you some fun opportunities on the weekend if you decide you like contest play. Thursday, today, prize wheel day at the Clubhouse Racebook. Stop by, put your name in the hat. Maybe you spin the wheel for some extra prizes. $100 trifecta challenge tomorrow at the Clubhouse Racebook. Bounty bet also returns tomorrow, so keep that in mind. Play the late pick 5 at Capital OTB Bet for your shot at the bounty. Also, Friday, show pool entries open. So I'm shooting to make something happen this week. So take your shot to get on the show pool. Saturday, $100 play the board contest at the Clubhouse Racebook. And on Sunday, 711 Central Avenue, Clubhouse Racebook, double promo day. All right, let's jump back in on this Thursday afternoon. Race 4 this afternoon. We are looking at plain vanilla, $25,000 claimers. 9 furlongs is the trip.
I think this is day 2 of the Ortiz brothers suspension.
Yeah.
They come out. 715. I did look at this as a Mount Everest race, and the Mount Everest is number 1. Is number 5, Dust Devil. And Truculent, who I like very much in this race. I love Mount Everest races, folks. Truculent has to improve, I think, ever so slightly. I'm hoping the track maybe remains the same. Maybe it's a fairy tale what I saw yesterday, but I like Truculent. I am on the outside, but it's only the 7th post position. I'm hoping to save ground going in early. 235 to me, I thought had originally when I sent these picks in a strong pace advantage in this race. Running in the middle of the racetrack, I didn't think was too hurtful yesterday. But boy, Bob Placeris, who's having a good meet with limited starters, I think, on the square has a real advantage in this race. And then Dust Devil, who is 6-5 on the board, running huge numbers of late. The race goes through him, 7-1-5 for me.
I really went back and forth because I'm not totally convinced on Dust Devil off the claim and with the trainer or the jockey kind of coming in from out of town. But the last 2 numbers, including the nice win last time, if this horse can get back to that, has the edge. And I originally was looking at 235 with the speed from the rail.
Absolutely.
Comes off the claim. Trainer's very good off the claim, so I think that horse is dangerous. And then in the 3rd spot, I did use your Truculent. As I say, my alternative to the top pick Dust Devil is 235. Yes. I think on the class move, I'm not as convinced on Truculent as you are, but I'm not writing that one off either. But they claimed the horse and moved it up a little bit, and the horse got it done. So I don't think it's out of the question in here. Rocco Strong off the claim for Marshall Graham and 10 Strike Racing. They're pretty clever. I think that horse could be an intriguing entrant in here too. 5, 1, 7, and 3.
On to the 5th, state bred 2-year-old fillies, made in special weights, going 6 on the dirt.
8, 7, 5, and 9. I put Book of Wisdom on top. A little bit of breeding there. Didn't quite live up to it in the debut, but experience counts. We'll see if this one can improve on that and move forward off the start, really right at the beginning of the meet. Pretty up by Practical Joke. It's a Rudy runner. And again, by Practical Joke, and with a steady string of pretty good works, I would think, for a 2-year-old at this level. Going out for Mike Rapoli, so that one intriguing as well. And then Recency in the 3rd spot, Chad Brown trainee with, again, a little bit of breeding and, workouts that are okay, aren't jumping off the page. I looked up the breeding on these and really didn't have any notes. Mish Dior Cherie, who I liked yesterday, has a sibling called Star Fashion that won its career debut, but it was on turf. I may kick myself because, again, I like this horse a little bit better when the horse was entered yesterday, and there's a little something there. But the whole field, there was nothing really jumping out as to me on the breeding side of things. I had it 8, 7, 5, and 9.
Seth's top pick is the only horse whose run is in my mix here, and I just 2, 7, 8. I call it the guessing angle. I do think the 7. I think we would be very fortunate to get 10-1 on Pretty Up. That seems like a live Practical Joke horse. Maybe this is another filly who can run But I just took my main squeeze. Mike Maker, first.
There's a little bit of breeding there too.
Yeah.
I looked at that one.
Yeah, I'm into Mischief and Spicetown for the grandsires there. So that's
sibling to Rodney, who runs today or tomorrow, I think.
I don't know. And I'm guessing, as my mic falls, but I saw it, is there must be a golf fan in here for number 3, Aquanic, a name you very rarely ever hear, but in the deep background, it is one of the places in the golf world. Up over here in Vermont, I think it's supposed to be tremendous. I know more people have played Augusta National than have played it, but it's supposed to be it's quite a place. 278 for me. I think I'm expecting the wagering is going to help us because if Pretty Up is 13-1, you wonder if they have 4 legs. But if they're 7-2, you're like, look out. But 278 for me.
All right, let's move on to race number 6. Again, one of those R-conditioned races without the R up in the
but still
conditions.
an R.
Yeah, which I'll have to talk to somebody and find out what that situation is. But they're going 6 furlongs.
When it goes up to $16 a day, the daily racing fund, they're going to put the R in. 314 for me. The 1A is also eligible. Seth touched on the Antonio Sano separate horses. He took the 20-1 shot. Kudos to that. I'm taking the horse who's already lost. And this is a classic example, Seth. This might be one of the best ones. This is my 28th summer, 26th in a row, doing work for Capital. La Dame Bro debuted at 23-1 at Gulfstream and got beat a neck. You guessed it, came back at even money and got beat by 4.5. That is maybe the best example I've ever seen. Because usually I say they come back at like 1/6 the price. This guy came back at 1/20th the price. But the Mucho Macho Man makes the 3rd start, comes up from 2 starts at Gulfstream Park. I was surprised to see, just the 5-2 on the morning line, but he has 2 starts. He's going against, I think, 6 firsters and 2 horses with 1 start. For second, I have part of the entry that's in the main body. This is the Grateful Dead. Oh my goodness. This is, you talk about hunch plays. Was it Wall Stib or something with a long straight trip? Is today the 30th anniversary of his death? Jerry Garcia?
I thought I read something like that within the last couple of days.
Okay. Well, that would be a hunch play. Then Cowboy Luke for Rob Atras, and offspring of Gervin. We talked about him last year, was big. We've already scored at him this year. 3-1-4 in what I found to be a wide open race, which obviously you did because you like a 20-1 shot on top.
Yeah, and that's part of it. There was, as I say, when I looked things up, there was nothing jumping out at me. But you mentioned the one. I could make the case there. And Conate to me is going to be playable from Fletcher. But again, Dark Horse Play of the Day has a little bit of breeding, particularly with Kozan on top, that attracted me. Conate in the 2nd spot, La Dame Bro, the shorter price of the uncoupled Antonio Sano entry. Cowboy Luke from Rob Atras is by Gervin, so seems interesting as well. But for me, 7, 8, 3, and 4.
At least with my opinion, people should know that. I think good races are ones that have 6 or 7 viable winners. I mean, that's kind of like my nature of I don't like the Mount Everest races. I find they're difficult for trifecta players, or at least the way I want to play it. And I've always thought for horizontals, and I know people will say like the bingo free square or something but I'm like, the idea of mutual wagering isn't all of us going along together is not advantageous. So that's how I define a good race, is why I have multiple options to go. On to the 7th, we're going to be
break.
A break, 3, 6, and 8. Take a quick break before we see the letter E for the 2nd time in the history of the Handicappers Report. We'll be right back. No, we don't see anymore because of the nature. Remember when sometimes there'd be like 4 different couplings?
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops.
My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
A day at the track isn't complete without a night at the Horseshoe. Great food, hot music, and cold drinks. So why go downtown when all the action's just across from the track? The Horseshoe Inn at the corner of Nelson and Gridley.
Birdstone is an outside front. They're coming down to the finish. Can Smarty Jones hold on? Here comes Birdstone. Birdstone surges past. Birdstone wins the Belmont Stakes.
In front, but here comes High Chaparral. High Chaparral, the defending champ, to take it to Falbrough. These two arch rivals head to head with Joe Hart bearing down on them. It's going to be a 3-horse photo finish to the turn. Here's the wire. Photo finish.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Handicappers Report. In my opinion, the day's getting even nicer out here.
Yeah,
so
it's gorgeous.
If you have, we said this last week. I mean, if you have a couple hours,
I was telling you when I drove in, I got to enjoy some horses.
Horses. I think we saw the Spanish Armada from 1600.
I hadn't waited that long.
You.
I got stuck, and there was like a dozen Fletcher horses, and there was a little, but they didn't. The guards didn't let. And then a whole Fletcher or a whole Chad Brown group went through, and then some horses were coming off the track, and then another group went.
Everybody in the pool.
I had never waited that long before, but nice morning.
On to the 7th. We're off the turf at 9 furlongs. 3-year-old fillies, optional claimers, 1X.
I did go out to the MTO. 1A, 3, 8, and 9. Virtual reality on top. Chad Brown, Klarovich runner. They get the surface they want. Won the debut effort. Good second. When trying this kind of company in the second start. Again, getting the surface they want with the experience under the belt. Likely a short price, but I'll put that one on top. Second slot, I'm going to go with number 3, Alpha Bell. You go down the page, there's a little bit of dirt for him that is okay. But again, I think this horse might have gotten better. If they elect to stay in, I'll trust that Alpha Bell will be a competitor. And then the number 8, Root Cause. Chad Brown, if you look, will often keep the horses in. Now, he does have the AE.
I don't think he's keeping this one in.
Yeah. This one, though, you got Into Mischief, and you have some okay workouts. And so if that one does stay in, I'll tell you.
I'm sorry. You're talking Root Cause.
Yeah.
Which you said.
It's not the.
I heard Idea Generation, who I think strongly is coming out.
Yeah. This one, though, is
Root Cause.
The 8's a different owner.
You could see.
With the workouts underneath, if they stick,
right.
I'll play that
and as you said, the pedigree is more leaning, whereas the pedigree for Idea Generation is screaming scratch.
I have it 1A, 3, 8, and 9.
Apparently, the only E we have is for the number 1. We don't have the 2E.
Well, you don't want the E though, right?
I want the entry Grand Motion. I'll take. When I did the race, I would take either one.
I was looking at the 1. Okay, all right.
No,
okay.
The 1.
Now I got you.
In the turf race, you want the 1. In what is the dirt race now, you want the 1A. That's an example where you don't want both parts, but I did want both parts of the 2.
I didn't realize the 2 was
strong, both parts. But I'm we go down this once again. I think the 4 is probably coming out, maybe the 5, maybe the 6. I feel strongly the 1 itself is coming out. Root Cause will be interesting, whether they stay or not. And both of my halves of the Graham.
So we should make it clear, just so the next dirt race, the next turf race that comes up, you don't have to show our picks because those aren't our picks. Again, I'm 1A, 3, 8, 9, and you're not sticking with 1, 2, 3.
No, I don't think I don't think the 1 is not running. The 2 entry, I feel strongly, is not going to run. I'm going to get scratched out today on these picks that we put in, the day earlier, and I'm suspicious that Alpha Bella from the rail is going to stay in. This is a race where virtual reality, I think, will be much stronger than 4-1 on the board.
8th race this afternoon, conditional claimer, $16,000 tags, non-winners of 2 lifetime. The condition, 7 furlongs, is the distance.
And 925, keeping the golf thing going. Pine Valley, almost always considered the greatest golf course in the United States, is my top pick on the outside. Now, if the racetrack stays the same and I'm on the outside and I have good early speed, I'm happy to play that card as it lies. Pine Valley coming right outside, our front window here from the outside. Jamie Torres get good position. I'm happy to roll the dice with Pine Valley. Magical Ways. David Jacobson playing this horse for $40,000. Ran in starter allowance. Got walloped there. Now into, I think, the softest winner's condition in New York, right? 16-2L. Yeah. And then for third, moving pitchers, but 9-2-5.
What are the odds on Magical Ways? Morning
2-1.
Yeah, that's to me the drop was just too steep. So I put the horse underneath. 5-2, 9, and 6. Moving pictures, I think, is getting back to the proper level. Just missed at this condition. 3 starts back, was claimed out of that. Then they kind of moved up against a little bit better. The first start they went to the turf, so I'm going to draw a line through that. Then last time they were against a touch better and ran okay. I just think they're getting back to the comfort zone. So moving pictures with Raylu on board. Then Magical Ways. Yeah, it's one of those that can win by a city block or lose by a city block. Claimed for 40. The last couple were against starter allowance types and well beaten. But again, the drop is a little bit suspicious given that they broke the maiden for 40. I get that they're getting realistic, but again, I just shied away a little bit. And then Pine Valley coming in from Parks is going to be a player if that Parks form holds in the 8th. 5-2, 9, and 6.
And you may not have seen this, but Del Mar, we're taking full cards at Capital for Del Mar. The jockeys were complaining about the light because of the time of day, and the day's getting shorter now. And I think they're moving up the Friday post time, which used to be 5 o'clock. I think it's going to be 3:30 to get the racing in. The jocks have been like, and I tried to figure out how dark was it for them, but they chirped up that they did not like particularly the last race. Obviously,
I loved it.
For us, it's great.
Watch some late,
and my pick tonight is about 8:30 our time. I think that's race 8, about 8:30.
It's break time, right? But before we go to the break, let me just also tout the cookouts down at the clubhouse. Started last week and was very popular. Cookouts at the clubhouse now Friday afternoons. You go down, burger, hot dog, baked beans, pasta salad, all for $10. Again, between 1 and 5 down at the clubhouse. Racebook Fridays through the end of the Saratoga meet. So keep that in mind. All right.
They would lose on me for $10. Take our final break. When we come back, the late Daily Double.
For more than 4 generations, Bruce Cerrone and his family have continued the 101-year tradition of delighting their local following and faithful summer crowd with the finest authentic Italian recipes. Classic Italian dishes made with the freshest ingredients, served in a home-like setting. Some things have changed in the last 101 years, but not Pinnell's commitment to the finest in Italian cuisine. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, just minutes from the track.
The only thing better than watching the races is watching your own racehorse. With nearly 20 years experience in the racing industry, Bonaventure Stables' share-based ownership program enables everyday fans to become part owner of a thoroughbred for far less than you might think, with all the ownership perks at Saratoga, Belmont, Aqueduct, and other great tracks. Experience the thrill and lifestyle of owning your own thoroughbred racehorse. Learn more at bonaventurestables.com.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Handicappers Report. Please note we are off the turf today. Very applicable to the 9th race. We'll run a mile starter allowance.
I have it 13, 7, 14, and 4. I did use the 2 MTOs in the mix in the top 3. I put South Street on top. Linda Rice Trainee second off the claim. First off the claim was in some allowance company, and we had an okay number. Let's put it that way. And compared to this bunch, I think he's going to benefit from the surface switch and what we've seen over the last couple of starts and further down the page. I went in that direction. Second spot, Deputy Connect. This one may be one you want to actually take a closer look at. If stays in, and I don't see any reason why the horse would come out because there's dirt form and might wind up being the one to beat. The last couple of races, including a race right up here at Saratoga, again, we're okay, certainly number-wise. And then in the third slot, again, back out to the MTO, Skate to Heaven. It's the other Linda Rice. Linda Rice has South Street. She also has Skate to Heaven, uncoupled entry in here. So Skate to Heaven a player. 13, 7, 14, and 4.
I alluded to it earlier in the show. I do think the late daily double is a strong hand being held by the MTOs. This one, I'm anticipating approximately 6 of the 12 in the main body coming out. I would hope number 6, Yono, stays in. But to me, it's 13, 14, and I'll take the 6 in the main body. As I said, the main body has 12. I would actually make the over-under 6.5 on that coming out. And as I said, we'll just touch on it. I think the late daily double is dominated by the MTOs.
Oh, and I had it confirmed yesterday. There is a when you go to the main track, I think it's 10, and so they actually had to scratch horses to get to that level.
Right. But my interesting thing was, do the MTOs still stay at the back of the bus?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. That's
10th race today, 10th and final. Again, scheduled for 6:18. Maiden 40 claimers, scheduled for 5.5 on the grass. We are now on the main track.
The 12 and 13 are the MTOs. I think the 13 will be very attractive to many people. 8 to 5 on the morning line. Now, these are the races that, and understandably, many people thought would somewhat stay together. And I think off the clock at 15 to 1 on the morning line, I don't know what Tim Ham's thinking, but I'd be staying. That's just a guess on my part. How about Insanity It Seems, making the first start in over a year? Wesley Ward, one making every pole, the winning one. Then the famous line, disqualified for purse money, which means the bettors weren't helped. That's an after the fact one. When you see that for our casual fans, that means it was after the fact. The 13 to me looks to be in very good position here. This race I'm hoping will stay more together, and I'm certainly hoping that off the clock, number 10 for Kendrick Carmouche at 15 to 1 is one of those. I'm thinking that number 6, Kasimba, will definitely want to stay in here. Just a guess on my part, Luis Saez. But to me, at the end of the day, it's 13, 10, and 6.
Yeah, I had it originally on the turf, 6, 8, 7, 10, the 11 down at the bottom of the mix. But with the surface switch, I did pull the 13, the MTO, on top. The 12 doesn't really get me too excited, the other MTO.
Not a hockey fan,
but
huh?
Kasimba, Kasimba I was when I was at RPI for a couple of years. So I was briefly a hockey fan. The 6, Kasimba, interesting. Liquid Addiction, probably, and Insanity, it seems, come out. I don't know. But we'll see how that shakes out. But again, there wasn't enough there for me to switch things up significantly. So 13 on top now, 6, 8, 7, and 10 underneath.
It is always interesting. I pay much attention to the scratches in the off the turf races from the main body. I know we laugh sometimes how the MTOs scratch out of the race that you thought that they got, but I'm intrigued on which, and then they start to develop patterns, which trainers you can feel comfortable. Now that pattern doesn't necessarily mean like with an individual, like even if Chad Brown had a pattern of staying in the races, I would think that Idea Generation would not fit that pattern. I mean, you have a Dabawi offspring that's probably got a bright, present and future on the turf, but I find it interesting to see which, and then I love to watch to see how they run. And that's why sometimes, and I've told the guys here for years, it's like, I'll stay with my picks. If the trainer wants them to go, I'm all for it because I'm often going to get the price I want because of the dominance of the MTOs. And Seth would like to see a designation of an MTO winning a race.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's one of yours.
Yeah.
It's one of yours. Anything else? Who do you have for Racing Across America?
Coming
today?
up, he's in the house. The
Well,
Brooklyn
he's
Cowboy,
early.
Kevin Cox, going to do a little handicapping this morning and more. Coming up at 10:20, our usual DRF rotation. This morning it's Dave Grenning, so we'll talk a little bit
over
about
the rules
last
more.
weekend and also some nice stakes coming up over the next couple of days. And then bottom of the show, Jason Brinkman and Brian Spagnola will come in, America's Pastime Stables, locally based partnership. We'll talk about some of their recent success and more with Jason and Brian, America's Pastime Racing Stables.
All right. He stays, I go, ladies and gentlemen. It's a beautiful day. Come on up for a couple hours, take in the racing, usher in the second half of the 2023 season. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning.
You've been watching the Handicappers Report. The Handicappers Report has been brought to you by Thorough Pace, premium racing analytics, allowing bettors to identify races with extreme pace scenarios in a matter of seconds. Capital OTB's mobile wagering platform. Bet any place, anytime with Capital OTB's mobile wagering platform. And CapitalOTBBet.com, the premier wagering site in New York State.